It was a rainy day in late September when he first noticed me. I noticed that he was looking at me all the way from the gym hall to the building. My heart skipped a beat. He was almost a grown man, and I was only 14.
I felt it was of great importance that I share this with you all. The game is called The Day the Laughter Stopped. You don't need to download or install anything to play it. Like a flash game, all you have to do is open up a browser, the link of which is in the description. It's an interactive text-based story, and its story is one we hear far too often, of a young girl being manipulated by an older man. You get to play as the girl. The middle parts of the story are essentially a series of back and forths, push and pulls between the girl and the older man until it escalates at the very end. We'll go over the concluding sections of the game. Now, what I'm about to read will be graphic. You absolutely don't have to listen to it if you don't want to. You may skip to this timestamp if you please.
He held my hand tight as we walked along the path. I didn't want to be here. Suddenly he stopped and faced me. A moment later, his lips were pressed against mine. I felt something pressed against my leg.
At this section of the story, even if you try to pick the option to stop him, you realize it doesn't do anything. Here's the moment the choices stop working, and the only way for you to move forward in game is to stay still. It does not get any less worse from here.
I heard laughing in the distance. I wondered what my parents would say if I got pregnant. I just lay there, still and unmoving as hours, days, years went by. And then it was over. As he was buttoning up, he said without looking at me,
"How about next time you loosen up a little?"
I put my pants on one leg at a time.
After that terrible exchange, the girl returns to her home and she's just unable to talk to her family.
I don't remember how I got home. They asked me something I must have answered. They kept talking. I wondered what my brother would say. I wondered what my mom would think of me. I wondered if my dad would still love me. I wondered if I should tell them.
Once more, an option appears on screen for you to tell her family what happened, what awful things just happened that she's too afraid to speak of. But just like before, you click and it does nothing. All you can do is sit there in silence. The girl returns to her room.
After dinner, I went up to my room. For a while, I just stood there silently. I knew this room. I had seen it before. But it wasn't mine. It belonged to someone who didn't live here anymore. Someone I had known for a long time. Someone who had left me behind. I stood in the middle of the room until my parents went to sleep, until the lights went dark in the homes around us, until my legs wouldn't carry me no more and I couldn't hold back the tears any longer.
For one last time, there is a button to start over. If you choose to click it, one final text appears for the whole story.
"There's no starting over. This happened."
Hopefully you see why I needed you to see this game. The story does a fucking brutal job of showing you the psychological trauma and the aftermath of a rape. The removal of the choices in-game forces you to feel the same powerlessness as the girl. And God, how does no one know this game on YouTube? You enter a situation where one feels helpless and hopeless. A situation where one must accept the pain, but shouldn't accept that they deserve it. You see, when we talk about victims, we tend to talk about the ways of how they went along with it, how they suspiciously kept quiet about the rape, or whether they were even raped in the first place. Instead of it becoming a matter of helping the victim, it becomes a matter of debate. Downplaying one's own experiences as a means of self-protection is quite prevalent among all of us. It is no different to survivors. They try to pretend like nothing happened to them, denying the gravity of rape, and they simply stop fighting. And then people come around and exacerbate the whole of the problem. Somehow it becomes your fault that you got raped. Others will say that maybe you didn't do enough to stop the perpetrator, but how can one be responsible for actions that are not their own? We turn to the victims and tell them how to behave, just so that they can minimize the risk. Instead of trying to stop the rapists, we tell the ones who have to suffer to stop living their lives. Yes, it's a good thing to promote listening to both sides, but when it comes to an issue like this, at that point it's not about picking sides. It's about mental stability versus not. It's about valuing a person versus not. It's about decency versus not. Our main character isn't just a victim, but a survivor. Same goes for those who went through what she went through. Because whether you realize it or not, you're made of sterner stuff.